Alright, Part 179, 300, Title 49, CFR Chapter 1, November 1st, 2011 edition. So, Part E, specification for multiple unit tanker cars, classes .106A and 110AW, Section 179, 300, general specifications applicable to multiple unit tanker car designed for the move from the car structure, filling and emptying class .106A and 110AW. Section 179 301. Tank built under these specifications shall meet the requirements of the statute 179 300 and section 179 301. 179 303. Type of the general requirements. Tank built under the specifications shall be cylindrical, circular, and cross section shall have heads with improved design. All openings shall be located in the heads. Uh, each of the tanks shall have the water the capacity of at least 1,500 pounds and not more than 2,600 pounds. For tanks more than made in foreign countries, the chemical announced material, all tests shall be carried without limitations of the United States under the supervision of a complete, competent, impartial inspector. 179-304, insulation. Tanks shall not be insulated. 179-306, thickness of plates. For Class D 110A, the tank's wall thickness after forming the cylindrical portion of the tank must not be less than specified at 179-301, nor the calculated by the following formula. T equals PD over at 2SE. D is the inside diameter inches. E is the 1.0 welded joint efficiency. P is minimum required bursting pressure and PSI gauge. S is minimal tank strength and material rate in PSI as prescribed in statute 179-307. T is the minimum thickness for the plate material in inches after forming. For class .106A of the tanks, the wall thickness for the cylindrical portion of the tank shall not be less than the specified statute 139-301 shall be such for the tank pressure of the maximum fiber test within the wall of the tank is not exceeding 15,750 pound psi and calculated following formula. S equals bracketed P with parentheses 13D squared plus U4D squared divided by D squared minus D squared. Lowercase d squared. Lowercase d squared equals inside diameter inches. D equals outside diameter inches. P equals tank pressure in PSI gauge. And S means wall stress PSI gauge. If the plates are clad with material having tensile strength at least equal to the base plate, cladding may be a considerable part of the base plate when determined with the thickness. If cladding material does not have tensile strength at least equal to the base and plate, the base plate alone shall meet the thickness requirements. Alright, 179-307. The material, steel plate material for the fabrication of the tank must conform with the following specifications when they indicate the maximum minimum tensile strength of the elongation of the welding continuation. However, the maximum allowable carbon content with the carbon steel must not exceed 31 hundredths percent, although indicated by the ASTM specification may allow with a greater amount of the carbon. The plates may be clad with approved material specifications to the tensile strength PSI weld with condition elongation of 2 inches, 2% weld condition, longitudinal minimum. B reserved. C, all plates must have their heating number and number of the branded on the manufacturer legibly stamped on the rolling mill. 179-308. .110A shall have the fusion welded head formed with the concave pressure head. The fusion of the welding shall be ellipsoid revolution 2 to 1 major of the minor axis. It should be one of the piece hot formed with one heat so that it is provided with a straight flange at least 1.5 inches long. The thickness shall not be less than the calculated following formula. T equals PD over 2SE, where symbols are defined in statute 179-306. A. Class .106A. The tank must have the forged wheel heads form convex pressure head with a head pot for forged welding. Must have torus with inside radius no greater than the inside diameter of the shell. They must be one piece with a hot formed one heat so that it is provided with a straight flange at least 4 inches long. They must have a snug dry fit into the shell with the forging weld. The wall thickness after the forming must have sufficient to meet the testing requirements of 179-316. Provide the adequate thread for the threadings for the opening. 179-309. Welding. Longitudinal joints must be fusion welded. The heat to shell joints must be forged welded on class .106A with the tanks fusion welded on the class .1010A tanks. Welded procedure welding fabricators must be approved with accordance with the AR specification of the tank cars appendix W IBRC 17117 for the chapter. Fusion welded joints must be in compliance with requirements of the AR specification tank cars with the appendix W except for the circumferential Weld in the tank less than 36 inches for the inside diameter need not to be radiotaped. Forged welded joints shall be thoroughly hammered and rolled in to ensure solid weld. The flanges of the head shall be forged in lamp weld with the shells then crimped inwardly toward the center line at least 1 inch for the radius. Welding and gripping must be accomplished in one heat. 179-310 post-weld heat treatment. After welding is complete, steel tanks and all attachments welded thereto must be post-welded heated treatment as until unit into complies with the requirements of the AR specification for the tanks, Appendix W, IBRC 171.7 for the subchapter. 179-312 protecting fittings. The tank shall have such a design will afford a maximum protection to any of the fittings attachments to the head, including the housing referred to in 179-312. B. The tanks end for the slope of the curve inward toward the axis so that the diameter at each end of the at least 2 inches less than the maximum diameter. Loading and unloading valves shall be protected with a detachable protective hosing with approved design that shall not project beyond the end of the tank and shall be securely fastened. The tank head pressure relief device shall not be covered with the housing. 179-313 venting and loading and unloading valves should be approved with the type and made with the metal not subject to the rapid deterioration. Landing shall withstand tank test pressure without leakage. The valves shall be screwed in directly into and attached to by other approved methods in one tank head. The provision shall be made with the closing outlet with the connection of the valves. Threads for the opening shall be native gas taper threads, or NGT. Taped to gauge and clean cut and even without checks. At 179-314 attachments no otherwise specified. Siphon pipes and their couplings and inside of the tank and lugs outside of the tank for attachment of the valve protecting housing must be fusion welded in place prior to the post welding heat treatment. All other fixtures and appurtenances except for the specifically provided with the prohibited. 179-315 pressure relief devices. Unless prohibited with the Part 173, the subchapter tank shall be equipped with one or more of the relief device. One or more relief devices approved in type of the made with the metal not subject to the rapid deterioration by the landing and screwing directly into the tank heads attached with the tank heads by other approved method. The total discharge capacity shall be sufficient to the preventing of the building up of the pressure in excess of the 82.5% of the tank pressure. When relief devices and fusible plug type are used when they require discharge capacity shall be available in each added CAR specification with the tanker cards Appendix A with the IBRC Side 171.7 with the subchapter for this forming and calculating discharge of the capacity. The threads opening of the shall be native gas taper threads or NGT type, taped, cleaned, and cut out and even without checks. Pressure relief device shall be set with a start to discharge the ruptured disc and shall be burst with the pressure not exceeding the specified 179-301. Fusible plug shall function with a temperature not exceeding 175 degrees Fahrenheit and shall be vapor tight with a temperature not less than 130 degrees Fahrenheit. 179-316 test of the tanks. After post-weld heat treatment, the tank shall be subject to the hydrostatic expansion test of the water jacket by other approved methods. No tank shall have been submitted subject to previously internal pressure within 100 pounds of the test pressure. Each tank shall be tested with the pressure prescribed in 179-301. Pressure shall be maintained with a 30 seconds sufficient longer to ensure the complete expansion of the tank. The pressure gauge shall permit the reading of the accuracy with the 1%. Expansion gauge shall present with the reading of the total expansion with the accuracy of 1%. Expansion shall be recorded in cubic centimeters. No leak shall appear with the permanently volumetric expansion shall not exceed 10% of the total volume greater volumetric expansion of the test pressure. 2. Reserved. B. All fittings have installed. Each of the tanks shall be subjected to interior air pressure tank that is the test of 100 psi gauge under the condition favorable to detection of any leakage. No leaks shall be repairs and leaks detected in the manufacturer foregoing test shall be made with the same process employed with the manufacturer of the tank, caulking, soldering, similar repairing of the prohibited. 179-317 test of the pressure relief device. Each valve shall be tested with air or gas before being put into the service. The valve shall open the vapor type with the pressure prescribed in 179-301. Ruptured disc and non-reclosing pressure relief devices must be tested with the qualifying prescribed in the Appendix A with the paragraph 5 of the AAR State Manual Standard Recommended Practices Section C, Part 3 AAR Specification for tanker cars, IBR 171.7 for the zip subchapter. The pressure for the relief device with the fusible type. Sample of the plug shall use in function with the temperatures prescribed in 179-315. The starts and discharge of the vapor type pressure shall not be affected by any auxiliary closure or other combination. 179-318 stamping. To certify the tank complies with the specification requirements, each tank shall contain plainly permanently stamped in the letters figures 3/8 and inches high with the metal with the valve with the chime and chimes as follows. Dot specification material, cladding material with any immediately below specification number, owner and builder identifying symbol and serial number immediately below the material meta identification. The symbol shall be registered with the Bureau of Explosive Duplications or not authorized inspector official marks and immediately below the owner's and builder's symbol. The dates original testing month in the year, and such as 1/64 for January 1964 shall be placed in the date of subsequent tests may be easily be added thereto. Water capacity 0.0000 pounds. Comply with the above stamping of the letters and figures with the prescribed size stamp with the pressure plate secured in one tank head and is authorized. 179-319. Tanks shall be inspected within the United States and Canada by component impartial inspectors approved by the Association Administration Safety FRA for the tanks made with the outside of the United States or in Canada. The specified inspection shall be made within the United States. The inspector shall carefully inspect all plates with the tanks and or to be made with the screw. The record certifying the plates comply with the specification. Plates which do not comply with 179-307 shall be rejected. The inspector shall make the inspection as may be necessary to the requirements of the specification, including markings fully comply with the sheet. With and shall see the finished tankings are properly stressed and relieved and tested. The inspector shall stamp the official mark on each of the accepted tank required in section 179-318, rendered with the report required in 179-320. 179-320 reports. Before the tank is in place, with the surface inspector shall furnish with the builder and tank owner, Bureau of Explosives and Secretary of Mechanical Division, Association of American Railroads, a railroad report and prove with the certifying that the tank is in equipment that comply with the requirements for the specification. Be the builder's certificate, construction C1 and 79 5 B, C, and D. 179-3 individual specification requires multiple unit tanker cars. In addition, with 179-300, the individual specification requirements are as follows. Minimum requiring bursting pressure PSI gauge, minimum thickness shell inches, test pressure PSI gauge, safety relief device PSI gauge, start discharge burst and maximum PSI, vapor type minimum PSI gauge. Alright, and 179-302, reserve subpart F specification cryogenic liquid tanker cars and seamless steel tankless cars. 113 and 107A.